Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's news. Starting off with wars and rumors of wars. On Monday, October 27th, Egyptian Apache helicopters bombed terror bases in northern Sinai, killing 15 jihadists and destroying an arms depot. And Syrian rebels, led by al-Qaeda loyalists, launched a major assault on the government-held city of Idlib in a bid to consolidate their control over the northwest. Then on Tuesday, October 28th, Iraqi armed forces have launched fresh anti-ISIS operations to liberate another strategic area after they managed to recapture the town of Jerf al-Sakhar, just south of the capital, Baghdad. Following the liberation of Jerf al-Sakhar, Iraqi government troops and volunteer forces have engaged in fresh clashes with the ISIS Takfiri militants to retake control of the town of Amriyat al-Fallujah, situated in the western province of Anbar, just west of Baghdad. Then on Wednesday, October 29th, 200 Free Syrian Army fighters entered Kobani to bolster the Syrian border city's dwindling defenses against the self-described Islamic State, even as 160 Kurdish fighters from northern Iraq arrived in Turkey en route to join the fight. The Iraqi Kurdish Peshmerga forces are continuing their advance towards Iraq's Mosul province, where they captured at least 60 Iraqi villages last month. At least 300 Islamic State soldiers were killed, and scores of ISIS vehicles were captured in clashes between the Peshmerga and the IS. The Egyptian army began demolishing houses along its border with Gaza in the city of Rafah, also Wednesday, following through on a plan to establish a buffer zone with the Gaza Strip. The demolition of some 800 houses has displaced more than 10,000 people along the border in an effort to build the zone that officials hope will help prevent the influx of terrorists and weapons from crossing into Egypt. Then on Thursday, October 30th, the rebel Sudan Liberation Movement Mini Menawi, known as the SLM-MM, will meet with the Sudanese government on November 22nd for talks concerning a cessation of hostilities in line with an African Union roadmap for peace in Sudan. Pro-government troops entered central Benghazi on Wednesday after nearly 10 days of fierce fighting, which killed dozens of people and forced hundreds of families to flee. The battle for Benghazi started in the summer when the Islamic State seized the city. And a very serious conflict came to a climax on Thursday, a conflict which has been growing for months now over the long-standing ban on Jews worshiping at the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. They are allowed to visit, but not allowed to pray there. It seems the terrorist group Hamas has been doing everything it can to stir up this trouble we've been seeing. Jordan's government threatened to revoke its 1994 peace treaty with Israel after the Temple Mount was temporarily closed to both Jews and Muslims in an attempt to calm these tensions due to the shooting of U.S.-born Temple Mount activist Yehuda Glick by a Palestinian terrorist. Glick was seriously wounded and is now being treated at Sha'ar Zedek Medical Center in Jerusalem. Quote, "Violence is escalating every day," Glick said, "and the police are simply helpless." Close quote. The Jerusalem shrine, a walled, elevated platform, looked like a fortress ringed by hundreds of Israeli troops with helmets and shields who seal access roads and restrict entrance. After 1967, most rabbis considered Jewish prayer at the Temple Mount a sacrilege. But since the 1990s, nationalist clerics have been pressing for an increased Jewish presence, triggering angry reactions by Muslims who argue the site is exclusively theirs. Then on Friday, October 31st, a car bomb exploded at a crowded bus stop in the northeast Nigerian city of Gombe, killing at least 10 people and wounding several others near the end of the morning rush hour. No one immediately claimed responsibility for the blast, but Islamic group Boko Haram has been blamed for a string of bomb attacks in the region this year. Gombe is close to Nigeria's northeast Borno state, the epicenter of the insurgency. Then on Saturday, November 1st, fighting flared up early Saturday morning at the airport north of Donetsk as the East Ukrainian city was getting ready for Sunday's elections. Artillery fire was heard in downtown Donetsk across the entire city, though fighting did not disrupt airport traffic. Then, in Syria's northwest province of Idlib, Islamist militants affiliated to al-Qaeda seized the last remaining stronghold of Western-backed rebels after days of fighting. Backed by other hardline Islamist groups, the Nusra Front are waging a major military campaign against the Syria Revolutionaries Front led by Jamal Ha'aruf, a key figure in the armed opposition to President Bashar al-Assad, after accusing him of being corrupt and working for the West against them. Also on Saturday, in the town of Jabal Ras, in Yemen's western province of Hudaida, 20 Yemeni soldiers and 3 suspected al-Qaeda militants died in clashes when al-Qaeda fighters attacked an administrative building from all directions and looted 4 police cars. Then on Sunday, November 2nd, according to a report from Yonhap, that's South Korea's news agency, North Korea has imported and launched a Soviet-era Golf-class diesel submarine after modifying it and making it capable of firing ballistic missiles. Then on Monday, November 3rd, a large number of people were returning after watching the Pakistani Rangers' flag-raising ceremony at the Wagah border, when a suicide bomber blew himself up near one of the exit gates. At least 61 people, including 10 women, 8 children, and 3 Pakistani Rangers, were killed, and nearly 200 people were injured. It's been a most active week, my friends. In response to an unusual level of air activity over European airspace, NATO scrambled fighter jets to intercept 26 Russian aircraft in just 2 days this week. And in what came to be playfully called the Hunt for Reds in October, the Swedish Navy launched the country's largest mobilization since the Cold War to find the mysterious submarine I reported to you 2 weeks ago, which was detected near Stockholm on October 17th. Suspicion quickly fell on Russia because of the heightened tensions over Ukraine. However, Russian officials denied the vessel was theirs, suggesting it might be a Royal Netherlands Navy submarine, which of course the Dutch denied, and despite a week-long search by minesweepers, helicopters, and ships last month, No submarine has been found. Then, American intelligence officials quickly focused attention on Russia when the White House's unclassified computer systems were discovered to have been infiltrated by sophisticated spying software. You may recall last July when 3 security firms led a string of coordinated attacks on Western oil and gas companies to Moscow. Vladimir Putin continues to puff his chest. Inflammatory comments released over the weekend by Iran's Defense Ministry and Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps come as nuclear negotiations between the United States and Iran reach a critical juncture. Talks between Iran, the United States, and other Western nations remain tense as the November 24th deadline grows closer. And, get this, Iranian military and defense officials made statements over this past weekend that called for, quote, the prosecution, trial, and punishment of the White House, saying that, quote again, the United States remains the great Satan and the number one enemy of the Islamic Revolution, the Islamic Republic, and the Iranian nation. A statement like that, and Obama wants to have talks with them. I don't get that one. On a completely different subject, my friends, Kirk Cameron, best known for his role as Mike Seaver on the 1980s TV sitcom titled Growing Pains, is on a mission not only to save Christmas, but to also save Halloween, according to a recent interview with the Christian Post. During this interview, Kirk discussed his new film, Saving Christmas, which attempts to debunk various concerns about the pagan origins of the holiday and encourages support for the various annual traditions from trees to Santa Claus. I guess he's never read Jeremiah chapter 10, verses 3 and 4, where Abba Father describes a Christmas tree in great detail and says very clearly that it is a form of idolatry. Cameron further encouraged Christians to celebrate Halloween, stating that, quote, Christians should have the biggest Halloween party on your block, close quote, and went on to encourage Christians to participate in Halloween by dressing up and partying in order to show that Christians have the upper hand in the holiday. What? Cameron is certainly displaying a perfect example of how fame and money can screw up someone's clarity of understanding. Matthew 6:24 reads, no one can serve 2 masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will stand in devotion to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve Elohim and Mammon, that is, deceitful riches, money, possessions, or anything that is trusted in other than Elohim. And that's the news for this week, my friends. As always, I hope and I pray that this has been a berakah to you and yours. And Abba willing, I'll see you next week. Until then, be safe and shalom, my friends.
Crowded rooms, I need more space than I consume. Enough is time alone with you, underneath a naked moon, sharing confidential moods and making chatter. Mockingbird nocturnal sings notations of eternal things, entering the quantum breeze, flying not for want of wings. He lights his gaze on you and me, simply because we matter.